I would say the same threats that everybody faces are what you face here. How they show themselves and what they act on might be a little different because you have, it's a very dense population, I think the ratio of sort of like handset penetration, the number of people with smartphones is very, very high. Finance industry is huge here. Hong Kong is still seen or believed to be the gateway to Asia. So you are an extraordinarily important hub. So therefore, the kinds of things that people might want to exploit, or the kinds of exploits that might be directed here, could be just about anything out there. We wouldn't see as much the kinds of things that would go after, say, industrial, manufacturing facilities. Not that you don't have some, but they're probably not as big. You know, the SCADA systems and the kinds of things that we hear about. Yes, it's a risk, but probably a little bit less. I'd say much more the Internet of Things, that handheld devices, going after intellectual property, mergers and acquisitions type information, financial plans. You know, if you're negotiating to buy a company, if you can spy on what the your counterparty is trying to do, you might be able to use that to your advantage in how you negotiate. These are the kinds of things that are easily exploited and can be exploited in Hong Kong or in Asia just as easily as anywhere else. So I would say that we're all swimming in the same ocean in a way. But that doesn't mean that the way of managing the risk should be done the same way, because the likelihood of you being attacked by a certain exploit is going to be a little different depending on the kind of company and sector you're in. Your vulnerability is going to be different based on the way you've built yourself, and then the impact it will have is going to be different depending on what you're actually up to. And if you're a public company or something like that, you know, and you have sensitive information on your network that's going to be released tomorrow morning, the vulnerability and the impact the day before is entirely different than it is the day after. So just sort of looking at this intelligently and managing risk around the variables that matter, surrendering to the ones you can't control, but managing the ones that you can intelligently is, I think, as much a challenge for companies in Hong Kong as it is anywhere else. The human element always comes back to that, because you have to be vigilant. In fact, I was just reading something in Harvard Business Review a couple of issues ago, and they were talking about how the US Pentagon warfighters have gotten to a level of protection that is better than they've ever had it, and probably better than they've ever, that anybody else has. And the way they went after it was to adopt in information security the principles that Hyman Rickover developed for the nuclear navy, 50 years ago or whenever it was. The idea that the people have to really be very rigorous in the way they conduct themselves. Now, I'm not saying that therefore we run a company like we run a nuclear submarine, but what we should be doing is focusing on those same human attributes, the same things that make up people, and then tie that to the technology. Don't expect the IT department to make you safe no matter how you do your work. That's impossible. The important thing is that you work with the IT department and what they can do technologically to protect you, and for your own behavior to be integrated and connected between the two. So the human factor is huge.